Hello, welcome to the Alternative Sports Show. I'm your host, Andre Dixon, stuck in the bunker in my wardrobe in day 2469 of this pandemic. I'm here joined by my pal, my buddy, my amigo, Sam Morgan. But enough of us. We are here where in this episode, we are the students. He is the sensei. Vernon Kay, how are you?
Oh, behave yourself, Andre. Come on. Come on. I am no more a sensei than the guy who runs Cobra Kai. Come on.
We are here to learn from you. How are you doing, my sir?
Yeah, everything's good. Everything's all right. You know, I think, it's been, well, to coin a phrase, it's been crappy for everyone, hasn't it? Lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, on all levels. You know, the fact that we've not seen our mates for years. It's just our family not seen my parents for more than a year, which is just bizarre. Because
really?
Yeah, which means the kids haven't seen grandma and granddad for a year because they're up north, you see, and I'm down south. So, and my parents were of that generation where, oh no, love, no, we can't come and see you. We've got to stay in.
Yeah.
We've got to stay at home.
Yeah.
We better not. Yeah, they've just been abiding by the rules. But I think we've all adjusted and we've got used to life indoors or used to life in your local area. And I think, hopefully, one thing that we'll learn is how much we do actually need each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How much we do need the corner shop. How much we do need just nipping the post office. I mean, God bless those. To me, as well as the NHS staff, they are frontline workers. You know, I think I've been in our post office more times than ever. Yeah. You know, and now I feel like, this is a great analogy. I feel for the first time ever that I'm in a northern village down south because everyone's saying hello to each other. Do you know what I mean? You walk into Costa, hi mate, how you doing? Yeah, not bad, mate. Everything's good. Post office is the same. Got a relationship now with that family in there, whereas before I just walk in and everyone would nod, but now everyone's talking to each other because it seems that people are just coming out the front door and going, I need to speak to someone else.
I'm on the other end of this spectrum now, where it's like, you know, obviously with the designated people that we can actually see, you know, thank God for our you know, my mother-in-law who comes and helps out with the kids to keep me sane. But it's so weird when you're around people, you know, when she comes in once a week and it's just like, I found myself walking backwards no matter what. I'm always walking to whatever wall or keeping my space around people. It's going to take me time to be able to adjust and not walk around with my laptop, you know, talking to people through Zoom who are next to me.
Imagine when, I know it sounds really weird because it's something we would do on a regular basis, ringing up the lads, saying, right, pub, 6 o'clock, see you there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then you walk in and then there's groups of other friendship groups all around and then mingling and then bumping into someone in the loos. And then instead of it being, yeah, mate, you nudge my pint, it's going to be, oh, mate, sorry about that. Do apologise. Let me give you a hug. Let me get you another thing. You know what I mean?
We've got to see how long this nicety is gonna last. You know, like even me and Sam are being nice to each other all the time now. I'm like, I love you, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, something's definitely up.
He was a bit weirded out when I said it first of all.
Yeah, hell had frozen over for sure.
But I think there's going to be for a short, well, I hope for a long period and forevermore. But I think there'll be a sense of a massive loving, you know, where it's like, right, okay, come on, let's throw Uncle Nobbert out the window and let's bring in peace and harmony, and let's just all drink as one. Do you know what I mean? I mean, can you imagine if you're a mobile disco with fairy lights and a smoke machine, you are going to make a killing.
Oh yeah. It's ready.
It is fired up. You know what I mean? I've got a year's supply of fairy liquid. The bubble machine is charged. We are ready to go.
Well, you know what, Vernon, you've started us off in such a loving way. Honestly, you brought my mood from where it was all the way up. So I'm just going to ask, like, you know, to start off, because I'm really, really curious about your career. Obviously, I've just mentioned off here that we've been in each other's circles for many, many times, and I've never actually really got to speak to you properly. I've got to do the nod. So I was like, and someone said, oh, do you know him? I was like, yeah, of course. I've known him from ages.
Way back. We go way back.
Now we can actually do it. Now I can actually.
Yeah.
But so like many people have seen you as like will see you as a entertainment presenter at the top of their heads, like especially during, you know, you being on I'm a Celeb. But how did you first get involved in sport presenting?
Well, the first sport thing I did was I did the NFL show for 2 years with Nat Coombs, and that came about because I'm Alistair Kirkwood and I, the guy who unfortunately is leaving the head of NFL UK office. Him and I became really, really close friends because at the time when the NFL was starting about putting on an international series game at Wembley in 2007, I guess was kind of the only person on the telly who was an American football fan. So for that period of time, it's like, get Vernon to do it, get Vernon to do it, get Vernon to do it. People know him. People don't really know he's an NFL fan, but let's bring him in and see if the two worlds can collide. So Alistair asked me if I'd host the NFL show on Channel 4, and of course I said yes. But it's quite funny because when he phoned me up, he said, look, just host it. Let's get it up and running and we'll see how it goes. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Because I think it hadn't been on Channel 5 for a couple of years, and it was the transition back onto terrestrial, back into its natural home, Channel 4, blah, 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 the history that carries with it. And I said, look, Alistair, I don't wish to sound like a Mariah Carey diva type person, but I'm not hosting the Super Bowl. He said, what? I said, I'm not hosting the Super Bowl. He said, why? He said, because I'll be absolutely knee-deep in Budweiser at the Super Bowl. I said, how can you host the Super Bowl? I'm like, it's our pride and joy. It's the golden chalice. Do you know what I mean? It's everything American football fans dream of. I said, I'll do content around the Super Bowl, i.e. I will be in town, but I can't sit there, watch the game and work because to me, the Super Bowl is everything that I ever dreamed of as a kid. Yeah. Like, even though it's American football, for me, it's the FA Cup final. It's the World Cup final. It's that 100 meters at the Olympics. It embodies every major sporting event in one festival of sport that whole week from Sunday to Sunday. For me, the Super Bowl, and people will argue, and I've been to other big sporting events, but trust me, if you haven't been, from the moment you land in a host city, you realize that the Super Bowl is by far the best sporting event in the world. And that's hands down. So we had this debate and he's like, I might need you to do something live. I said, I'll come in at halftime. I can get away with being drunk at halftime. I said, but I will be, honestly, I'll be drowning in booze because I love the Super Bowl. And because it takes me back to those mad years as a kid, being a massive American football fan when I was playing for the Manchester Allstars, how much it literally just swallowed me up, Super Bowl Sunday. It really did. And I used to get my mum to stay up in the middle of the night and pause the adverts. So up until the age of, I think I was 20 when I was at uni, and I started watching it actually legitimately on my own, she'd watch more Super Bowls than I had. Because the game goes on for 3 hours, you could get a game on a 3-hour tape only if you pause the adverts. So she used to stay up all night, pause the adverts, making sure that I could watch it the following day non-stop from start to finish on a 3-hour tape without the ads. And then Panasonic, I think it was, invented this thing where you could turn a 3-hour tape into a 6-hour tape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that.
So you went from 500 gigabyte to a terabyte on a VHS. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It was mad. So we had this conversation, and cut a long story short, that's how my journey into sport started. Is that Alistair Kirkwood asked me if I'd do the American football show, and I said yeah, but there are conditions.
all acceptable, Vernon. Obviously, we're going to get into sort of the American football scene quite a bit, but you mentioned there Manchester Allstars, right? So as a kid here, right? I mean, it's probably a little bit different now, but way back.
Yeah,
access to American football teams probably wasn't that greatly appreciated, I suppose. So what made you join Manchester Allstars as a kid?
I was obsessed by the game from the first moment I saw it on telly. It just drew me in. I thought, oh, this is cool because it had like rock and roll music in the titles. It was fast, and it was at the time when you couldn't get any American football statistics. You know, now I think we go too deep in statistics. Let's just enjoy the game. Do you know what I mean? And that's what the broadcast was then. Was here's half an hour of highlights of the American football, and it was amazing. And they did shots of the hard hits when you could hit hard, the amazing quarterbacks and the catches and all that kind of stuff. It was an amazing celebration, that 30 minutes, and it just literally suckered me in. And I was hooked, and I was a big fan of the Wonder. I don't know whether you guys, you two look too young to remember the Wonder Years. Do you remember the Wonder Years? It was a TV show that was on Channel 4.
Yeah.
Kevin Arnold.
Well, thank you for the compliment.
Amazing show. And Kevin Arnold wore this New York Jets jacket, like this iconic New York Jets jacket. And I thought, oh, I'd love one of them. And then I got into American football. Like I say, I started backing my school books in American football posters. And then obviously the lads in your class would draw bus stop penises on every player. You know what I mean? As you do. So that stopped. But yeah, it just swallowed me up. And then I saw an advert in a weekly newspaper called First Down, which was our major source of football information. And it was like players wanted for Manchester Allstars youth team. And the Manchester Allstars senior team had just played in the Brit Bowl against the London Ravens. And I thought, oh, well, they must be pretty decent. And that was it there. Never looked back. I played 3 years with the Allstars, then the Fylde Falcons, and then the Manchester Spartans. And at times I kind of regret it because I can't remember anything.
Too many hits to the head by sound.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I get, like you said, obviously it's progressed now as well. We're seeing more international games here, obviously in London, Germany, Mexico is coming outside of the States. But there's obviously always talk around a European league or even a team coming over to London permanently. What do you think will come next? Or do you think it will just always remain in the States?
Well, it's interesting that the NFL invested so much money and time in the Tottenham Stadium, you know, because I think the information is out there, but I think it's kind of an untold story in that the NFL sat down with Tottenham and said, look, we want to build a stadium that can accommodate 2 American football teams and a Premier League team. And it's got to be a stadium that resembles the stadia that we've got in the States, you know, and even though they've tried to create a wall of noise, it does look like an American football stadium when you get into the Tottenham Stadium, and, you know, with the pitch on different levels and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing. It really is an unbelievable facility. And, you know, I'm starting to hear rumors that the NFL is now having a good look and starting to focus on Germany. And it surprises me that focus didn't start in Germany, because they're even more obsessed by American football than we are. Let's not forget they had the what was it called? The NFL Europe League was predominantly in Germany. I know we had the Scottish Claymores and prior to that the Monarchs, but it was a predominantly German league, and most of the London Warriors who I played with, they all played in the NFL Europe League. So it's kind of interesting where it's going to go next. And I think the pandemic has given them an excuse to kind of say, all right, let's look at other territories. Yeah. So I think what we'll start to see is maybe 2 games here, 2 games in Germany, or 1 game here, 2 games in Germany. Who knows? I think that's the next step. But I personally think we don't need a franchise. I think we need to see, because American football is still a niche sport. And people will slate me for saying this, but I don't think American football in 2001 is as popular as it was in 1986. Even though we only had half an hour of American football. Because I know product is accessible these days, and I know that information is accessible because of the internet, and I know with the global movement of goods, you can very quickly get a shirt from the Kansas City Chiefs Stadium and get it to your house within a week. But back then, if you wanted an American football shirt, you would actually go to Burton's or Tesco's, and there were 4 available. There was the Marcus Allen Raiders shirt, the Art Monk Redskins shirt, the Walter Payton Bears shirt, the Dan Marino Dolphins shirt. That was it. And I think if you were lucky, you'd get a Joe Montana jersey. But it seemed that everyone knew about American football. Everyone knew those 4 players. Everyone knew the teams. And I think we've kind of, even though everything's readily available, I still don't think that buzz that American, maybe it was that rawness, that freshness of American football, I still don't think that exists today. It's bizarre. It might just be me, and people will debate it and argue it. And you know what? Fine. But for me personally, I still don't think there's that hubbub, that bubble of excitement about American football that we had in '86. And I think it's basically because the market is flooded with accessibility of sport is everywhere.
I think what it is one of the things I always say to Sam about is that, you know, we in NFL, just like we covered the with F1 as well, I find that there's a snobbery effectively of like, we don't want too many new fans who don't actually know the game getting involved.
Really annoying.
Which is it is annoying, because it's like, you know, again, I refer to F1 as well, where the whole game and sport needs new people involved. But I think that now we've got this access of, because I was surprised you said that, because how quickly like Twickenham sold out twice, how quickly like Wembley sells out twice.
Andre, listen to this, right? And I apologize for interrupting you.
No, go for it. Go.
The NFL spent more money on that Rams-Giants game. Was it Rams-Giants?
Yeah.
On that Rams-Giants game. The NFL spent more money on that Rams-Giants game in posters and dressing the stadium than the RFU spends in 6 years.
Wow.
Oh my God. That's insane.
Mental,
that
right?
Is, it's, you know what, it's because it's a sport that needs that extra over the top.
But that's what American football is.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's like everyone needs their little flags and stuff like that. Like when they come over here, then obviously, as you know, all the players say that it feels like a little mini Super Bowl or something like that. It's just like a special big occasion. So the ones who come over here, even if they're like at the start, like, oh God, I have to come over there. I remember Todd Gurley literally standing next to him, and he was just saying, I just don't see the point in us coming over here. Just before he actually did his press conference, and he was just like, "Oh, we're happy to be here, you know, really excited." But then seeing him on the field, he's just having such a great time, and he saw obviously how excited people are. You know, obviously, I think at that time there was definitely snobbery, and there's a long ass flight from LA to here. But actually, just while we're on the subject, what is your team, and how do you think their season went last season?
Well, I don't really have a team. But if I'm pressed, I say the Bears, only because it was the first Super Bowl that I watched, and that team, that iconic '85 Bears team, is probably maybe 2002 Ravens, but it's probably the best defense we've ever seen. Like, it's phenomenal. So I'm I'm a Bears fan, but I think there's too much to enjoy in American football.
Yeah.
To say, oh, Tom Brady, he plays for the Buccaneers. I'm a Bears fan. Don't like them. It's like, behave yourself. American football has some of the best athletes in the world playing every position. You know, even the big lads up front now are probably the best athletes that you could put on a sports field. And there's too much to enjoy. The running backs are next level. The wide receivers are so athletic, it's a joke. You know, Julio Jones, Adam Durdy, who's now defensive line coach at the Dallas Cowboys, used to be a linebackers quality control coach for the Falcons. And he said to me that Julio Jones could play any position in an NFL team. He's that much of an athlete. He's just different gravy. Next level, put him to one side. If you could build the perfect athlete, it's Julio Jones. And I think that's why would you stop yourself enjoying all of that? You know, it doesn't matter who's playing. Like Darren Fletcher and I we were doing we were in the press box for the Super Bowl in Miami, the 49ers Chiefs game, and I'm cheering for both teams. And he's like, "But you've got money on the Chiefs." I'm like, "I know, but it's an amazing game, right?"
Yeah, it's nice when you have a teams that you can actually root for both of them. Like, you know, I mean, I wasn't. I'm a Giants fan, but I am I love Aaron Rodgers, so I always have these Packers stuff all around the place. So I have the same.
Well, there you go. You see,
type of thing where I can't. And generally, like, bar one team in particular, and this is because the gentleman who's also on this channel with us as well is a hardcore Cardinals fan, and I have to root against him.
Sam, I respect you for being a Cardinals fan. I respect you for being a Cardinals fan because, you know, they're gash. They're absolutely garbage. Historically, they really are. Right?
You're enjoying this, yeah.
But, no. I'm serious now, Sam. But
yeah.
I've not got my phone on me. But I've put money on the Cardinals winning the Super Bowl.
What?
Because I've got money on the Cardinals. Good money as well. Because I just think,
coming up, or
this next Super Bowl. No, this next Super Bowl.
Didn't put too much money down because
no, trust me. It's not what's his name? I can see it's not what's his name? The D lineman who's just gone there, the big lad.
JJ Watt?
Oh, yeah, it's not a JJ Watt thing. I just think that when you've got a quarterback that's got that much ability, and I think this is the year that the coach will say, listen, son, stay in the pocket because you're going to become our franchise quarterback. And every quarterback who has become mobile, and this is why I think your lad at the Ravens didn't have the best of years, really, or people were questioning his performances for the Ravens.
Yeah, Jackson,
Lamar Jackson, is because those kind of quarterbacks start to get scared when they realize that they're earning big money and they put their bodies on the line in front of the big lads, because linebackers, their job is to take your head off. I know they can't, but they want to hurt you. They want to get you out of the game. And when you're the kind of quarterback that runs around willy-nilly, you're going to get hurt. You know, we saw it with RG3. Yeah, I thought he was pretty decent at the Redskins, but he got injured, and he got injured badly enough that his career just crumbled, you know. But I think the Cardinals, I think this is their year. They're going to say, look, we will arm you with some decent weapons. We will give you the option to throw to a plethora, an array of good, high-quality wide receivers, and we'll just go for it. And I think they're a legitimate proposition, this year, the Cardinals. So I doff my cap, Sam. I respect you for being a Cardinals fan.
No, we're going to
back in the day, they were garbage.
We're coming. I'm going to make sure you got to come back on because
no worries.
Because in particular, you don't know what type of fuel you've given him now. The type of text messages I'm going to be getting after that, and this is your fault.
well, all I'm going to say is, last year I had 3 of the 4 semi-finalists in my spread bet, so I did all right.
I'm taking that again.
I
like those odds.
Yeah. So but I think you guys you don't just do American football, but you do a whole range of sports, and when social media is a weird and wonderful and a wicked place at times, but it's interesting how many people say, how can you like rugby when you like American football? How can you like American football when you like rugby? How can you like golf when you're into motor racing? It's like, what kind of person puts themselves in such a tight, suffocating bubble that you just enjoy one sport?
No.
My house, we're fortunate that we've got 3 TVs. And on a Saturday afternoon, everyone's got a different sport on. Because I can't sit still. So I'll be cooking in the kitchen with Jeff and the boys on, watching the scores come in. I'll have the athletics on in the front room, and I'll have some golf on in the kids' playroom. You know what I mean? It's sport is there for everyone. There are no boundaries in sport. You know, and I'm obsessed by learning what it takes to win. I'm competitive, but I just think, how do you, as an athlete, and this is why I loved spending time with Mo Farah in I'm a Celebrity. I drained him of as much information as I could because you don't really do much in there. You just sat around chatting. It's like, what makes Cristiano Ronaldo the best footballer? What makes Lionel Messi and him stand out from the rest? What's their work ethic? Because they've both got 2 legs and they've both got 2 arms. But what is it? How are they programmed differently to everyone else? You know, what makes their physical sporting processes better than a guy that plays for Fleetwood Town?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What is it that makes them better? And, you hear stories that Cristiano is, without doubt, the ultimate professional. First in, last out. Gym, training, massage, the whole shebang. But then on the flip side, I always think, how can you commit yourself so purely to one cause without getting on the keg with the lads after you've won? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Surely lads, just won the Champions League, all back to mine. I've got a Watney Party 7 ready to go. Here we go.
Yeah, you can't. You definitely cannot.
It's weird. Like Ryan Giggs said, his career actually got better when he stopped drinking. You know what I mean? When he started doing Pilates and when he was into the yoga and.
Yeah, but that's when you appreciate it more.
Levels, isn't it?
That's when the players like appreciate. I mean, you know, Sam, you've only just, you know, you're a coach, manager actually. So you know, he can relate to this, and obviously he's been looking after his body a lot. Let's say a lot more than I have. But like, it takes a discipline that, you know, you either got it or you haven't. But yeah, it's definitely, I respect like people like Tom Brady and you know, anyone that's not Man United fan, any Man United player, then you know, Steven Gerrard, let's say that's the perfect example of, you know, dedication. So,
but also,
okay.
Well, here you go. This is a good debate. So there was that period in the England football team where we had the golden generation. The midfield was Gerrard, Beckham, and Lampard. We won nothing.
Yeah.
Why? Why have you got a team with all that talent, but yet they disappointed us? And no offense to the lads, because I'm sure they thought they should have won a lot more than they did. But why? What was the missing ingredient? Do you know? And that's what fascinating.
I've had this discussion many a times, with a few scoops, obviously, right in the pub. But
standard.
Obviously. But for us, do you know what I think? Honestly, the wrong time. If you look at the formations formations and how we play now, if we played it as we did now with how the formations are played, we would have been able to accommodate it. The pressures of the fans, you must play all 4 of these players. You know, really, we should have had the cojones to say no, like one of you has dropped. But I also think that just generally, like you've just mentioned there, the mentality was so different. You talk to those guys now, what some of those were getting up to. Generally, I just don't think we were set right. But we go away on tournaments, it's no good.
Well, and wasn't there a period where I think Gary Neville spoke to it on his soccer box thing that he does, where they're sat in a cinema with former professionals and they look at their career? Wasn't there a period in England where Liverpool were on one side of the room and Man United were on the other? And it was quite segregated.
Yeah.
And then I heard Rio say that Sven would get really annoyed if he carried the ball forward too much. Do you know, if he was that more like that driving force from the back? And Sam would, and he was like, no. You go 20 yards and that's it. You pass the ball and then you come back. And Rio was like, yeah, but we've got all these guys who just want to go forward, so let's take the field to them.
Yeah.
But that's what amazes me is you know, management and process and that's why I love sport. Like if you look at like golf, how do golfers stay so focused in an individual game like that?
It's tough. It's not easy. I'll say actually, based on what you've just said there, what would be your ultimate sport if you could combine different, whether it's like the salary cap from the NFL, whether it's transfer windows, or whether it's how the game is played? What would be your ultimate combination of as many sports as you like? But I'll leave that one to you.
There's always that. It's funny when the Super Bowl, the only time American football gets primetime coverage in the UK is when the Super Bowl's on. You know, it hit for some reason, randomly, bizarrely. You know, the Monday after the Super Bowl, it's on 5 Live and it's on 6 o'clock news. Oh, and by the way, the New England Patriots won last night's Super Bowl, beating the Kansas City Chiefs 30-odd points to 9. You're like, well, where's that come from? Because it's the Super Bowl, because it's the biggest sporting event outside of the World Cup final in the world. You know, more than 100 million viewers. And then there was that debate this year about Tom Brady winning his 7th and, he's the best athlete ever. Tom Brady is by far the best athlete ever. Tom Brady's the best winner ever, alongside Tiger Woods. Do you know what I mean? And Floyd Mayweather. And I think that's what sport is. It's how many victories you can get under your belt within the realms, because it's all relative, isn't it? Like, there's no way that Tom Brady could go on a rugby field and get away with 15 minutes. Never mind 80. You know, he'd get absolutely smashed to pieces. And I always say that, in my opinion, and it is just my opinion, apart from hand-eye coordination, which dart players, golfers, maybe crown green bowling at a push, outside of that hand-eye coordination sports like snooker as well, rugby to me is the ultimate sport. I think, 100%. I always felt it and I always knew it. But after watching England versus France in Twickenham with no fans and standing on the sidelines and hearing what they put their bodies through, they don't get paid enough, in my opinion. It's outrageous. That game is an absolute mockery to any other sport out there. Like these guys,
it's one of
the men and women that play rugby are mad.
It's definitely the one of the sports that I'm definitely like, you know, I'm going to try to make sure I make more of an effort to get involved with a bit more. Like, you know, the whole social aspect of it, you know, all of these types of things.
Oh,
like,
lads, listen, when it opens up, we'll go to Twickenham. I got a great relationship.
I'll hold you to that.
Honest. And we'll see if we can get on the sidelines, because obviously we know that rugby is a physical sport and we know that there's a lot of tactics involved, but I didn't realise, and I'm so embarrassed that I didn't actually realise what the boys and girls put themselves through when they play a game of rugby. Like, if you watch the forwards and the way that they just pick up the ball and roll forward, the crunch and the slap that the contact makes, it sends a shiver down your spine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's I can hear it now.
So Team England, we, on behalf of Vernon is asking that we get to go in a box.
Yeah, well, of course.
You know, it has to be a box, right? We can't be just like, we're sitting there with regular people. Well, you'll get bothered. I'm thinking of you. That's what I'm thinking.
We'll be all right. All you've got to do, Sam and Andre, right? All you got to do is wear a barber jacket and we will blend in. All right?
It's ready.
Yeah, there you go. You got the beard.
Yeah.
I need to move. I need to
Sam's got the Chiswick vibes going on. We'll be rocking.
Honestly, Sam has. I've mentioned this in our NFL show that we have. When you get a couple of minutes, have a look at the start of the season. You know what he was wearing compared to this sudden slow move to Lord Morgan of
Hoxton.
Yeah, of Hoxton down. Like he's just missing. Well, he's got the dogs, but he's just missing that designer dog that they've got in their bags. Like dogs, those types of things.
Wellies. I'm ready. I'm
good.
He's got it all.
Yeah,
perfect.
A gentleman. But Vernon.
But if you just watching Mako and Billy Vunipola running into people, it frightened the bejesus out of me, you know. And there was one point where Max Malin, the fullback, was the last man between a French player and the line, and the French player just did a tuck and truck. He just ran at him. He didn't even try to go around him. And I'm like, oh my God, Max is going to have to put his head in the spokes.
Right, that's it. We need to go. Team England, please. Just a box.
Don't ask much. We can fix that.
Yeah, from Vernon.
I think, like, I mean, I'm talking about rugby from an athletic standpoint. You know, the guys and girls that play that game are like it's strength and cardio combined to produce something that is just unbelievable. And I still to this day don't think that rugby gets the back page coverage that it deserves because I mean, what a sport. It's just
football takes it all over now. Like, you know, that's it. Even cricket gets more than that. Like it's quite strange because obviously it's, you know, that's been our most successful result as a country. In many years.
Not really
cricket. don't get me started on that.
I'm not getting in it. We've
only just started to work with the ECB. I'm not going to upset them.
I'll do it for you. More than happy. And I'm talking from the fact that I watched. It brings back horrible memories. Cricket. Like, cricket for me was a waste of PE and games because you'd sit on the boundary making daisy chains. And I'm like, because I couldn't bowl, I couldn't bat, and I didn't know the rules. So I failed. And he just sat on the boundary picking grass out the floor. That's not a sport. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what?
But you know what?
Any sport where the players can sit on the outskirts of the field and chat to the fans whilst the game is going on is not a sport.
Oh my God.
They don't even do that in rugby, in snooker, when the guy in the olden days was sat with a pint, holding his snooker clue, watching the other fella play, whilst the audience is sat next to him. He didn't even do that.
You know what? We've just literally just had Elise Perry on, who's like, plays football and cricket, and I've been promised that I was going to get more into cricket, and look what you've done. You see, this is
it's only because cricket. It's on
Vernon.
I'm going to get grief for airing my opinions, and it's my opinion. But it just takes me back to school days where cricket, you didn't do anything. The teacher gave you a box when you were supposed to bat that's probably never been washed or disinfected, but yet you were forced to put it in your underpants. Do you know what I mean? So the PE teacher is giving you crotch rot, and you're like, oh my God, cheers, coach.
Vernon, we're trying to get to go to one of these games. Like we're this close.
Fill your boots. Fill your boots.
So I'm gonna swiftly move on real quick while we got a sliver of a chance of going to these games as guests.
But you know, every man to himself. People be like, yeah, and then people say,
"Oh no,
no, don't worry. Look, I'm digging. This is my hole that I'm digging, boys. Don't worry about it. All right, this is my opinion, and it's only because it all stems from the fact I hated cricket at school, right? But I forgot what I was going to say. Maybe it's a good.
I'm kind of glad.
From Jesus.
I'm kind of glad.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump
in.
No,
this is it. I've got it.
Oh no.
No, I've got it. So people say to me, "How can you like American football? It takes 3.5 hours." I'm like, look, cricket is the second biggest sport in the UK. It takes 5 days, and you can win when it rains. What is that all about? How can you win a sport by not competing, but you won because it rained?
To all at ECB, like I am willing to give this sport a chance. I am willing to learn. Vernon is not, and this is on him. Oh. But Vernon, I'm going to ask you this because I need to save this sliver of a chance that we got for nice seats with beers and complimentary food as well.
If the ECB want to invite me to a booze up,
you can come with us. I'll tell you what we're going to do, Vernon. We're going to get them to invite us so we can fall in love all collectively with cricket, and so you're with us on this
over a beer. Over a beer. Yes.
So, yeah.
But I was going to ask, let me
do some cleaning up.
Look, you see.
For legal reasons, those opinions are mine, and they are nothing to do with Sam and Andre. And it's only because my PE teacher at the time, Mr. Robinson and Mr. Lord, just made me sit on the boundary. And I think it's because I was punished by then. My love of cricket doesn't exist.
You see, this is I even wore a cricket jumper a couple of weeks ago. That for the first time, and it felt good because I'm ready to embrace the sport. That's what I mean. Any sport. As long as there's complimentary drinks involved. But I'm going to move on to the next thing. So, what have you not done as a presenter? so, what have you not done as a presenter in the
cricket
sport that you'd like to work in?
I don't think after this I ever will.
That crashed and burned.
Oh my God. You know what? I was halfway reading my question and I thought, oh no. We're gonna go with this. Right. So ECB, please can you get Vernon?
Leave them alone. Leave the ECB alone.
Honestly, they're gonna look after us now. But is there any other sports? Obviously, we know you've been working with Formula E. So tell us about your experiences in that, and is there any other what's to come, sport-wise for you?
We just started season 7 of Formula E, which started in Saudi Arabia, and we had our first night race, which was unbelievable. The cars looked great under the lights in Saudi, and what I've really enjoyed about Formula E is that it's constantly evolving because it's all technology driven. The way that the batteries are developed, the way the cars consume regenerative energy is put back into the battery, all that technology is quickly transferred into the road cars that teams like Audi, Jaguar, BMW. So all the information that they gather, all the software updates that they put in the Formula E cars is then tweaked and manipulated and put straight into their road cars. So it's kind of, it's from track to road within such a short period of time. And it's all technology, like I said, technology driven. It's all about programming. And that's what fascinates me, is how technology is driving Formula E, quite literally, and pushing the technology that's available at the moment to the boundaries of what it's capable of doing. And we're already, like, we've got Generation 3 car coming up, but I think it keeps being changed because technology and awareness of what these products can do is constantly evolving. And I think that's what really excites me about it. And we've got great drivers as well. And I love going around the world, and there's always good narratives because the racing, people say, oh, it doesn't sound so good. You know, it sounds like a TIE fighter from Star Wars, or it sounds like a scale extra. It's like, yeah. But do you really watch Formula One for the noise? Or do you watch it because it's competitive? Or do you watch it because it is a lot of cars going around a track that sound awesome? I don't know. But with Formula E, because the cars are pretty much the same, the competitiveness on the track is always at the highest level. You know, it's always, someone always crashes. Pole sitter very rarely wins. So I'm loving that. I love doing the Hero Challenge. They call it the short form content for the European Tour. So we do the Hero Challenge and we do the Golf Sixes. And I really respect what they're doing at the European Tour because they're actively trying to get new fans involved with the sport by changing the game that they're playing. So golf is you hit a ball with a stick, but how can we change that game to encourage young people to play the game? So American footballer, the NFL at the moment has got an issue with soccer moms. They call it, you know, parents don't want their kids going playing American football because of the controversy around concussion and rightly so, about the well-being and welfare of their kids. So how can we get kids to play American football without playing American football? You know, and they come up with flag and they come up with play 60 and all those kind of different programs to encourage kids to play American football. And that's what I like about the European Tour, is that they're not worried about changing the game to encourage people to come and play or enjoy golf. And I think the European Tour is doing a fab job, a really, really good job of changing the way that golf is viewed, the way that golf is perceived. And they're doing a fab job.
We did something with Formula E, which is the open call, where they got a friend of the show, Darren, it was one of our first interviews actually when she won. But yeah, so it's something that we've been supportive of Sam a little while ago. Oh, was it a couple of years ago? You got to
did Monaco.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he went to Monaco. Lucky git he is. He got to go there. I had to make do with Barcelona, but he is what he is. First world problems here. But no, it's definitely on the sport that's going to grow. So we definitely want to get more involved in it. So, you know, again, another call out to another sporting authority. Please invite us. And we'll make sure that Vernon behaves the whole time. You know,
Well, I'll tell you what, if I see you at a Formula E race, I'll know that you edited out my disc for cricket.
I can't. I'm not going down this. I'm not going down this hole in any way. But
I'm joking. But no, it would be great to see you at a Formula E race, because I think that I said recently to one of the people high up at Formula E is one of the reasons that it's so attractive to new fans is that it's really accessible. Like the NFL, they let the fans into the dressing room via the journalists, and it's the same with Formula E. Everything is accessible, and I think that's what shows like Hard Knocks, the NFL show, and then the Amazon Prime show that they did with the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Cardinals, the Rams. All or Nothing, that really worked because fans got an insight into the game. And I think the more you can open the doors and you can give fans access to behind the scenes, I think that we're at that stage where that's what fans want to see now, because everything is accessible, and that's what they're trying to do at Formula E. Everything is accessible. Like if I need an interview, I could just run into a garage and say, look, I need 2 minutes. Can you just come and have a quick chat to a driver or a team principal? And they'd be like, yeah, just give me 10 seconds, sort this out, and then I'll come out. And you're like, brilliant. And Steve Jones was telling me that, because he hosts Channel 4's Formula One coverage, and obviously we've got a T4 connection. He was telling me that it's quite difficult sometimes for those guys to get interviews, and it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that. It should be an open book.
It's not. Formula One is not the. Actually, to be fair,
it's changing though, isn't it?
Just in case Formula One are watching, they've given us a ridiculous amount of access.
Yeah, perfect.
But definitely, I can. It's a different culture there where you can't just run up.
Well, isn't that the way that Bernie Ecclestone wanted it to be, and now that Liberty are in charge, they're trying to change the way that it's broadcast and the way that people perceive because Formula One is like glitz and glamour. It's the high end
zone, honestly,
top high end of motorsport, isn't it?
It's so. I'm hoping I get to see you at Silverstone if we all get to go. But it's like it's an occasion. Obviously you mentioned a little while ago, like the Super Bowl. Silverstone feels like it's a special 3 days if you're lucky to get to go those. But even if it's just one, it's such a nice time. But I'm gonna wrap with one before. Sorry, actually, no. I'm going to ask you one last question, actually, because I'm enjoying my time with you. So, we've got
the ECB.
Yeah, and they are. Oh my God!
Amazing.
Right, so I mean, we're on our start of our journey. We started just as a bit of background. We started our sports channel proper, a year ago, and since then we've managed to blow up and we've had such good access and good interviews, and it's been an amazing roller coaster. But we are pretty much at the start. As a person who's had such an amazing career of you, what have you learned in regards to looking after yourself, mental health wise? What is there anything you've learned that would be good advice for us and others that starting to get into this industry that would in regards to looking after yourself?
That's a really good question. And obviously we all know the importance of mental health and well-being, how that is becoming, and rightly so, it should be the first conversation that is the easiest conversation to have with your friends and your family and stuff like that. And one thing that I've learned is the only people that matter to you are the ones that care about you.
Yeah.
So we get drawn into the trolls on social media. And we've heard this a million times. We've heard people say it. It doesn't matter whether you get 1,000 positive comments about a Formula E broadcast, for example. I'll only remember the negative one I read.
Yeah.
And that's just the way that we are as human beings, because we all like to be liked. No one likes to be unliked. We all like to be loved. We all love a cuddle. We all like, a bit of bonding and a smiling. But when you read anything negative, you're like, oh, man. And it's really important that you nurture those relationships of the people that are closest to you, and that you let gratitude in. There's nothing wrong with celebrating success. There's nothing wrong with getting in from work, sitting on the sofa, cracking open a bottle of wine, pouring yourself a glass, or cracking open a can of lager, and just kicking back and going, we did great today.
Yeah.
Had a really good day. Yay. Yay, us. Do you know what I mean? And if you celebrate the small things, and that's something I've learned through Tess, actually, is like she says, sometimes you've just got to celebrate, because I'm the kind of person that's like, right, I've done that. What's next?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even I'm doing a show called Game of Talents for ITV, and I got the great news that they wanted me to host it. And I'm like, oh man, ITV great news. Right, what's next? Not even recorded it. Do you know what I mean? And Tessa's like, whoa, hang on a minute. This is a big deal. Let's get in the garage. Let's go and find a bottle. Let's crack it open. Let's sit and celebrate. And I'm like, Yeah, you're right. You're right. So I think you really, those who are closest, you bring closer. You forget the white noise that goes on in the background because it doesn't matter. It honestly, genuinely doesn't matter. And as far as the number one tip I've got for anyone who wants to get into broadcasting is all you've got to do is tell the story.
Yeah.
Tell the story. Like what's the news? What's the narrative? What's the headline? Who are the characters? You know, really embellish those. Because if you know the story, if you tell the story, if you go out as a narrator, you don't need a script because you're talking from the heart. And I think that's what sport has learnt me. And I'm hoping that when I get back on the shiny floor doing entertainment shows, that the skills I've learnt in that sporting arena will really enable me to be a better entertainment presenter, because you guys know sport isn't scripted. No. You know, the whistle blows to kick off. It's not like, right, at 25 minutes, Pogba's going to score a header. And then at 27 minutes, Harry Kane's going to come in. He's going to slide in underneath the goalkeeper and pop one in. And then at the end of the game, it'll be a 2-2 draw. That's not how it works. So you've got to adjust and adapt to the surroundings that you're in. But if you know the story that you're trying to tell, you know, maybe Pogba's been having a bad week or Harry Kane's not on form, that's the narrative. And you put that narrative into the game that you're going to see, and then you tell the story at the end, because that's how you summarize. You don't need a script because you just say what you see. But you know the narrative. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know the story that you've got to tell. And I think that's what sports taught me. And also, don't get me wrong, you've got to learn your shit. Yeah. You really have.
Know your stuff.
You've got to know your stuff. I've done it. I mean, Jack Nicholls would take the mickey out of me, but I've done it a handful of times. I was commentating on Formula E, where I've asked questions to drivers, and we've got really courteous drivers in Formula E, so I'm quite pleased. I've asked them a question, and a couple of times they've gone, what? Like, and then I hear Jack laughing in my ear, and I've got the wrong driver. I've asked the wrong driver the right question, or the right driver the wrong question. Do you know what I mean? And they're so courteous that they kind of like, I didn't want to pull you up, but that wasn't me. That was the other guy. And you're like, oh, right. Sorry. You know, I'm a fan of all sports, and I respect and admire anyone who wants to get to the top level of success. And, you know, before the racing on Formula E and before we do the Hero Challenge, I'm fanboy number one. Do you know what I mean?
You got to remain a fan of the sport, and this is what we love about you, is that having that enthusiasm for the game, and there's no such thing as stupid questions. You know, I've definitely found that out from, and I must give credit to the guys at Formula One. Like, you know, that is the snobbish sport, if anything, where people know a lot about the engine size and all that stuff, and I'm not really interested in that, and that's why we built this channel, because we wanted to get people inclusive in NFL, F1. You know, MotoGP, cricket, everything, like even cricket, those types of things. But there's no bad questions. If anything, it's just don't be scared to ask a question. It's just you're a fan of the sport. You want to know, because there's other people who want to know. Like, oh, at least I don't have to ask that question. So, you know, people Google how to put petrol into, or engine oil into their car. Like me, that people do that for a reason, so therefore there's no such things as bad questions. But Vernon, I'm not going to keep you too long.
Sorry, Andre. Sorry to interrupt again.
Go
bloody hell!
But you see, he's out of control. This one.
No, I'm not. But I've got a great producer, and on that line that you just said there, he's like, look, go out there, and we want you to go out there with unassumed knowledge.
Yes.
In that everyone that's watching doesn't know what they're watching. Yeah. And I think it's the best way to talk about sport, because everyone loves the competitiveness. Everyone loves, like I said, the athletes that play all these amazing sports, but not everyone knows the rules. And I put a tweet out once, and it was like, man, love rugby, but sometimes the rules are quite complicated. And I got a tweet from what's he called? The Welsh referee who's just retired. Really famous referee. And I'm really embarrassed that I forgot his name, but that's American football for you. Nigel Owens. Okay. Nigel Owens said, Vernon, it's not rules, they're the laws of the game. And if you need to be taught them, I am more than happy to teach you. I'm like, yes, Nigel.
That's what you need. That's what you need. I wish you could. I wish you could speak to the Premier League officials, but I won't get back into that. What? I'm a Liverpool fan. I'm very bitter at the moment. But
very bitter.
I'm going. Before we go into the Arsenal and Liverpool thing that we always do, I'm going to, ask you, where can people find you? Obviously, those who are living under Planet Rock, where can they find you?
Well, I'm doing so. The Formula E has started. Where the next race is going to be in Rome on April the 12th. April the 10th, and that'll be on the BBC Red Button, and I think Eurosport as well, and Quest, and I think BT Sport, and we're now on Star in India, which is amazing because it puts so many eyes on Formula E because we've got an Indian team, Mahindra, and they've really pushed to get Star involved, and we're on CBS in America, which is unbelievable. So that's that. And then I'm doing a show called The Game of Talents, which is a variety show meets a game show, which is on ITV. That starts in April as well. And then hopefully, I think, all depending on COVID protocols and rules, we can get some golf going towards the back end of the year with the Hero Challenge and Golf Sixes again, because I really get excited about that because it's their active way of, like I said earlier on, getting young people involved in golf.
Nice.
It's like the question is that what aren't you doing? But where's your social media for people who want to follow you?
Is this where you can at me? Nice.
Yeah. Well, nice people, nice messages.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram, Vernon Kay, and on Twitter, I'm Vernon Kay as well.
Honestly, Vernon, this is such a great interview. This is going to be called a special. Honestly, we've been waiting to speak to you for a long time, and
thank you.
It feels like we've known you for years and years and years. And please, honestly, before the start of the NFL season, please come back on.
Yeah, I would love to. And what we'll do, Sam, is I'll explain in further detail why I think the Cardinals are going to be forerunners for the Super Bowl.
You do that, Vernon.
I like that. You've got to come on our show, the Hurry Up as well, where you can argue and debate with us about NFL. And Hannah Wilkes is on there as well from Sky Sports NFL, who terrorizes us each week, so she can terrorize you as well. But
I'll do that, and I swear, I promise you, all right, next time you see me, I will sit here on this very sofa in my cricket whites.
ECB, get us there.
I'll have my grey nickels in hand.
We're going to use this as a clip to entice ECB to get us to be able to come over the summer. We God knows we deserve it after this one. But for more interviews with amazing stars like Vernon, check out vergemagazine.co.uk, and then also check out our sports platform at Alternative Sport on Instagram, and all of the other things that we're doing are going to be down below before I mess up the exit. And Vernon goes on about ECB even more. So until then, we'll catch you next time. Peace.